Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good evening and selamat malam for all of you. And thank you very much for this opportunity. Before I started my speech, I would ask all of you, uh, when you hear the word tolerance, what comes to your mind? We often hear or mention the word tolerance, but what exactly this word means? I think everyone has their own definition of this word. But for me, tolerance is a willingness to accept beliefs and behavior that are different from our own. Uh, we might not agree or we might not approve. And why this word is matter? Why this word is so necessary for our lives? Sometimes we ask ourselves why this word is so important for ourselves, for our family, for our neighbor, and for our society. Uh, I could say we need tolerance in our life in order to live peacefully, because we all know that this earth is inhabited by people of various races, ethnicities, and religions. There are a lot of people live in this world, but sometimes these differences often lead to friction among the people in the community. I could say in order to maintain harmony and unity in the community, mutual respect from the community member is needed. To establish this mutual respect, people have to be tolerant toward each other. Otherwise, nowadays we can see, or sometimes we watch on the television, or in the morning we turn on our laptop or computer, we open YouTube, we see on the YouTube there are a lot of wars and conflicts happen all around the world. And maybe I can say some of us experience it. Like others people, I experience it as well. The story back in 1999, when the civil war happened in one of the provinces in eastern Indonesia called Maluku, the province where I came from, the province where all of my family lives there now. The conflict was between Muslim and Christian. Communal unrest between Christian groups and Muslim has turned Maluku into a gruesome bloody field and killing ground throughout contemporary Indonesian history. The impact of this violence between Muslim and Christians have like it's truly heartbreaking. A lot of people lost their houses because their houses were burned to the ground and they had to evacuate for a while. I can say hundreds of people have been killed and died. A lot of families lost their relatives, uh, wives lost their husbands because they have to fight their brothers even though they are not the same religions. I was born and grew up in K Islands, which is one of the islands in Maluku province. I remember I was 7 years old when the conflict happened. Still fresh in my mind when my family and I did a cruise using a ferry from our islands and to K Islands. In the middle of our journey, one of the officer from the ship gave an announcement that there had been a very scary war and conflict on our islands and K Islands. Before we leave Aro Islands, there is no something happened there. But when we are in the middle of our journey, they give information that there has been conflict and war just happening. At that time, I was just a 7 years old kid. I had no idea what is happening. I just see a lot of people, uh, women and children start crying, and I have no idea what exactly happened. I I even don't ask my father what is happening, but I can see a lot of people cry. And at this moment, it's like make the situation is very tense, and a lot of people cry because they are worried the war that's happened in mainland can happen in the ship as well, because the passenger were not just a Muslim but a Christian as well. So that's like we are afraid. But luckily, it doesn't happen until we arrive in K Islands. In the harbor, I can see a lot of buildings were burned, and I can see the smoke, and I see a lot of police, police and army. Just they are in the harbor. They just want to evacuate us, and some officers just took my families and I to go to our home because our home is not far away from the ship. And as far as I remember, the conflict itself continued several months before finally ending with a peace treaty between the two sides, both Muslim and Christians. A few years passed, the conflict between Muslim and Christian was over. But there is still a question to be asked. Are there no more religious conflicts that arise in Maluku? And how do the people in Maluku get out of conflict and to make a peace again as before the conflict rise? I can say in some areas, although the conflict have passed, but many people are still traumatized. Some Christians, especially at night, still do not dare to enter the Muslim area. And it happens also in for Muslim. They are still afraid to enter this Christian area. Although Muslim Christian segregation has occurred since the Dutch era, but the conflicts in 1999 have made several areas in Maluku increasingly segregated based on religion, Muslim areas and Christian areas. I can say like it seems like people feel more secure and comfortable living in their respective areas with the same religious community rather than mingling with people of other religions. I realize that indeed everywhere in the world, mass violence is not easily forgotten. It takes a long time, tens or even hundreds of years to forget and restore the bitter events of the past. So, how do Islam and Christianity in Maluku come out of the conflict and maintain the brotherly relationship? After the conflict in 1999, the government and society in Maluku began to revive Maluku's people philosophy of life, which has been developed and used long before the conflict happened, which is Pelagandong. Pelagandong is a tradition that functions as a bond of brotherhood between one village community and another village community. The Pelagandong is a philosophy where we are brothers, even though we are not the same religion, but I'm Muslim and you are Christian, but we believe that we are from the same ancestor. And in recent times, in several areas in Maluku, Christians and Muslims have worked together to help each other. Nowadays, I can say we assist and donate funds, materials, food, and labor for rebuilding some churches or mosques that collapsed and were destroyed by the conflict. And sometimes I see the beautiful thing happen when during uh, we are as a Muslim when we celebrate Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. Our brother from Christians, they help us. They become a guard and they become a security and they guard the mosque when we are praying. So we can worship properly. And it happens again when they celebrate their Christmas. We sometimes we go to the church and like we carrying out security around the church so they feel safety. We we learn from our past that during the war everyone suffered and we don't want to it happen again. So we believe that we are brother. We don't have to fight each other. So that's why like we build tolerance in our daily life. And I could say upholding tolerance in diversity is our strength to create unity. I believe that the highest result of education is tolerance because the more a person understands the difference, he will understand the meaning of togetherness. To close this speech, uh, I would take a quote from our ex-president, Gusdur. He said, who glorify humans means glorifying his creator. And whoever humiliates humans means degrading his creator. Thank you very much.